Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hey, my question is this, right? I've been watching this for like the last week. People talking about Jarrell Miller and Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn, supposedly, right? There's a quote by Eddie Hearn where he's saying something along the lines of, Jarrell Miller may have threatened him. Now, I kind of find that hard to believe, man. Although Jarrell Miller is a pretty vocal guy, and he has the tendency to not hold his horses and take it to the stupid. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if that's true, that he threatened Eddie Hearn. Now, for those of you who are kind of late to the party, Jarrell Miller, Eddie Hearn, right? Eddie Hearn made him one of his first signees back in, I think like 2017, 2018, when Eddie Hearn began staging shows on DAZN. Now, there was probably the biggest event planned for the United States, and that event involved Anthony Joshua. And Eddie Hearn, as Anthony Joshua's British promoter, he wanted to bring Anthony Joshua over to New York City, and since Jarrell Miller was being promoted by DAZN, and Jarrell Miller was racking up some really good wins, and Jarrell Miller had been pretty vocal about wanting to fight AJ, Eddie Hearn decided, you know what, this was the opportunity to put the two of them together to get Jarrell Miller the big fight, do it in New York where he's from, and he just felt the buildup would be immaculate, would be extraordinary. And he fully expected AJ to get in the ring with someone like Jarrell Miller who can push him, who can test him, but ultimately AJ would get a sensational knockout victory. Now, if you remember that press conference, Jarrell Miller gorilla shoved Anthony Joshua and got really animated. Long story short, everybody was waiting to see that fight take place. But unfortunately, it all came crashing down, man, because Jarrell Big Baby Miller failed multiple drug tests, lost out on his, I believe it was, a $5 million guarantee payday. Plus, and remember, that was the guarantee. And there was some more on top of that. So this man lost out on life-changing money. And anyway, he was replaced by old Andy Ruiz. Now, this is the thing, and we all know how that fight went with AJ and Ruiz. But Miller, he's always proclaimed his innocence. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not the fly on the wall to know if he was doing drugs or not. All I know is that he failed multiple tests. And my understanding is some of the drugs that he failed for, remember, it wasn't one drug. It wasn't two, right? It was a couple drugs that he tested positive for. But my understanding, there was one of them, I believe, the only way to get that into your system is like to inject it into your body. So if there's truth to that, there's no way in the world he didn't know that, he was on. It's not even the cocktail that he was being, he was getting marinated like them damn Thanksgiving turkeys. This man was getting marinated with goddamn pets. So anyway, man, he's always seemed to have an issue with Eddie Hearn, and he's always proclaimed his innocence. Shit, he went over the Top Rank after his ban for testing positive for the substances with Eddie for Anthony Joshua, the Anthony Joshua fight. Went over the Top Rank, popped hot for some more shit, got banned again, and now can only assume that he's cleaned up his act because he hasn't tested positive for anything. But he feels, right, over the last few years that Eddie Hearn didn't stand by him. Eddie Hearn's had choice words for him. But at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua is Eddie Hearn's man. That's his friend. Anthony Joshua brings a lot of money to DAZN. He does great business for Eddie Hearn. But at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua is Eddie Hearn's friend. Eddie Hearn and AJ, like they say out there in the UK, are mates. But like I said, a lot of time has passed, and you've seen Conor Benn and his situation flare up. And it sounds like Big Baby Miller kind of feels like, look, you kind of stuck by Dillian White through some adverse times. You kind of stuck by some of these other UK fighters. But when it comes to Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn has been by his side 100%. Like, Eddie Hearn's the kind of guy that you want to have on your team. Like, if he's down with you, Eddie Hearn is going to ride for you all the way. He is not going to abandon you. What they say, when the ship goes down, things go up in flames, Eddie Hearn's right there getting burnt with you. He does not care. But Jarrell Big Baby Miller watched that, and he feels like, damn, why you didn't give me that support? And that's what my understanding is when it comes to him and getting into Eddie Hearn's face and kind of confronting him. Now, we know that they've gone back and forth for years in the media, but Miller, my understanding is he ran up to him and he said, "Oh, you scared now?" to Eddie Hearn. Now, one thing I'll tell you is I think people keep forgetting that Eddie Hearn used to box too. And I know he seems a little cartoonish. And I know he calls himself a P word. He's like, I can't fight, I'm a P word. But Eddie Hearn, he's not afraid of these fighters. And Jarrell Miller ran up to him and didn't get the reaction he was looking for. Now, I'm reading a direct quote right now. He said, "Oh, you scared now?" And Eddie Hearn said, "I ain't effing scared of you. I know what you did." And then Jarrell Miller went, "Why didn't you back me like you backed Conor Benn?" And Eddie Hearn said, "Because I don't believe you." And then supposedly Jarrell Miller said, "Well, next time you're in New York, I'll have someone pull up on you." And then Eddie Hearn said he told him, "Go F yourself." Now, I'm going to tell you this right here. This whole thing about the next time you're in New York, I'll have someone pull up on you. I just don't think, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these guys will say things, and some of these guys, if they say they're going to, find where you are and confront you in New York or whatever city that you're going to be in, there are some guys who are really like that. But with everything that Jarrell Miller has to lose, I just don't think that he would go out there and make the fatal mistake of trying to confront Eddie Hearn or have someone else confront Eddie Hearn to just further exacerbate his situation. Jarrell Miller is actually on an upswing right now as far as his career. Why would he want to come and derail all the good stuff he has going on? My understanding is he's going to make several $1 million fighting in Saudi. So, okay, the AJ fight didn't happen. He missed out on millions of dollars, but he's going to make millions of dollars to fight Daniel Dubois. So, I'm not sure, and that's supposed to be a quote from Eddie Hearn, but I just read you. I'm not so sure if Eddie Hearn said it that way. But then again, maybe Eddie Hearn did say it. Maybe that conversation did take place. But I tell you what, if Eddie Hearn goes to New York, which he'll be there at some point in time, and Eddie Hearn does have somebody confront him, or Eddie Hearn gets hurt, or Jarrell Miller's in, he's in a bad space. He's gonna be the first person that they wanna come and bring in to have an interview. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna want to question him. So I just think it's kind of entertaining, but it's also a little bit of bad medicine in my opinion, because that's just not what it's about. And with Jarrell Miller and the fact that he failed those tests, they went over the top rank and failed another test. I mean, it's just hard to believe that Jarrell Miller is innocent. But at the same time, hey, I wasn't there. But what I will tell you is, as far as him threatening Eddie Hearn, that probably wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. Because that tough guy stuff, that shit doesn't matter to guys like Eddie Hearn. Because Eddie Hearn is a civilian. And if you come playing around with Eddie Hearn and think you're going to put your hands on him, or someone's going to, like he says, pull up on you and try to make you squirm a little bit, Eddie Hearn have no problem having your ass thrown in jail, having your associates thrown in jail. he has no problem. And I'm sure Eddie Hearn, if he was threatened when he comes to the States, he ain't gonna be like Bomac out there in the UK with a gun that he's not supposed to have. Eddie Hearn may have security. He may have, he's gonna have everything in place to make sure if someone decides to come out there and get cute, that they put some holes in their ass. And I think he should, 100%. Because that shit's not cool to threaten somebody like that. And now Eddie Hearn's got to go somewhere and possibly worry about some idiots wanting to come out there and hurt him, all because their buddy is mad that the whole world knows that his test came back positive for PEDS. Eddie Hearn already has a lot to worry about because he's a high-profile figure, and wherever he goes, he has to be careful. Now you got this added layer of bullshit that stinks really bad. Yeah, so I don't like that. I don't like it. If it's true, I don't like it. If it's not true, well then shame on whoever put the article out, and shame on Eddie Hearn for twisting the words. But at the end of the day, I guess we'll see how this goes. And I don't think that's a way for Jarrell Miller to get a fight with anyone over there on Eddie Hearn, on Matchroom, especially AJ. You would never get a fight with AJ because, one, Eddie Hearn doesn't want to give it to you, but especially not if you're threatening him. Anyway, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.